Hi, everybody. I'm Ross for Dekkoo Digest, and today I have some very special guests with me. Instead of me just talking to you about the latest movies and shows on Dekkoo, I'm here to talk and learn in depth about some of the newest productions coming to Dekkoo. So, with me right now from the new show Adam and Fragments that you can stream on Dekkoo, it's the co-directors of that, Omar, Salas, Zamora, and Calvin Picou. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having us.
It started off as a short film that you created, and then it was kind of expanded into this five-part series on Deku. So, what was kind of your inspiration way back when you initially made the short?
Bo Schwartz and I, the lead actor, we were kind of in the same circle. We would kind of almost worked together a couple of times. And then we finally sat down and we are like, okay, let's do something. So we had both kind of come up with this idea of this drifter kind of at the end of his rope.
Trying to get drunk?
I live here. I don't have to go anywhere, and I don't have a car if I needed to anyway. So, I wanted to ask some questions.
When did you start doing all of this?
Shit, man, I don't remember.
You don't remember the first time?
I mean, what are we talking about here? Anal? Oral?
How old were you?
I don't know, man. 16, 17?
Who was it with?
An older guy.
How much older?
Older than me.
How did it happen?
What is this project about?
I just want to get to know you.
There's nothing to know, man.
He had really pushed away everyone in his life that could possibly help him or could possibly be a positive person to him. And this is really, really the end. If you watch that short, it's very, very dreary. It's really nothing but darkness, like beginning to end. By the time that was done, obviously Bo was exhausted because it's just a really, really emotional little short. But kept wondering, how did he get here? What was the whole experience before this?
Took you long enough.
What's my cut?
What cut?
Come on, Felix.
No. You came crawling back to me because you needed a place to sleep. You said keep the money.
Fuck.
What was that? I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Did you or did you not say that?
Yeah.
Speak up.
Yes, I said that.
Did you or did you not say that?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
So that's that then.
One of the things that I wanted to try to do is like, okay, well, let's do a kind of crime thriller and see what we can do within, that genre. And the idea of it not being exactly romantic because there's no romance or sexuality involved between him and the female sex worker, but just having that relationship where he feels the need to protect someone. This is the first person he can protect. So he takes it very seriously. And that kind of started rolling, and that created the series.
You've never had chlamydia?
Gross, no. Have you?
Couple times.
Don't you use condoms?
Well, you get off from where not to wear one sometimes, so.
How much more?
Enough to make it worth catching chlamydia, I guess.
Oh, you're fucking nasty. Well, I'm never gonna catch that shit.
Yes, you will.
Actors get tested on set literally every day. It's a foolproof system.
Because I'm sure that, like, no porn star has ever caught chlamydia.
Fuck you.
You nervous about tonight's shoot?
No, I don't really get nervous anymore. It's starting to feel normal. Felix says that everyone's gonna love me. That I'm gonna be a star.
Wonder how much money he's making off you.
Oh, he says that's none of my business. It's not like it's gonna be forever, right?
I mean, not if you don't want it to be.
And Calvin, what is kind of your role in all of this. How did you kind of get involved?
Omar and I have written other scripts before. We've worked on a few shorts that I wasn't just acting in, but was co-writing with him. And surprisingly, I had absolutely nothing to do with Adam as the short, but I was looking to write something, and I was interested in the crime genre. And without intending to write for the series, Adam, the idea of the sex worker and adult film star relationship came and popped into my head. And I just thought I'd use the Adam character as sort of a writing exercise. And I showed Omar just with the intention of like, hey, I wrote this thing. I appreciate any feedback you can give on it, or just tell me what you think of it. And he thought it was worth continuing. So we ended up from then on. It was a joint project.
How do you navigate that of taking this 22-minute, like you said, Omar, dour kind of heavy piece and building it out into 5 longer episodes that have all of these more intricacies and don't necessarily have direct through lines between each other?
Calvin had that extra time when I was finishing Here Comes Your Man too. So while I was at the end of that series and really all my time was taken up with that, Calvin was just kind of tinkering around with these different ideas. And I liked a lot of them and just kind of encouraged him to keep going. So by the time that I came in, we really kind of used probably a huge bulk of what Calvin started. He built the ground. Everything towards the top of the series, Calvin was working more or less alone. I changed some stuff and to make sure it matched the ending. Halfway through the show, we started working together, and from that point on, pretty much like episode 3 on, those are more genuinely like co-written. Episodes 1 and 2, Calvin kind of had that groundwork, and I just had to re-edit it to make sure it all flowed correctly.
And after the first few episodes were written, we definitely had an open dialogue about creating the story before it found its way onto paper, of where it should go, what might happen. But outside of the script, when it came to directing, I've expressed interest in directing before. Omar has a ton of experience doing so, and has over the last few projects started to take more active role behind the camera as well. So we were both interested in co-directing, and it worked out that I could stand and work with the actors who might not get time with the director on set when they have to worry about things like lighting and camera angles. And Omar could work with our cinematography department to make sure that his directorial vision was also being met.
Was there ever talk of trying to keep the series almost play-like, or did you really want to explore the universe that Adam was living in?
I had written an entire series breakdown, and it was the first thing I gave Bo. I gave it to him probably 6 months after the short was done. And I said, okay, well, this is how I'd make it a series. And it was written in that way. It was, okay, each episode is going to be a play. Each episode is going to be a single act. And then we like sat down with it, and I was like, that sounds really, really draining. Because just even the short is draining. And after going back to a lot of the movies that Calvin and I watched before we got ready for the series, it became obvious that we wanted something faster. We wanted something more exciting. We wanted to put Adam, and obviously he's in a dangerous spot in the show, but I hope it plays like a thriller. Like that was the ultimate goal.
If the short film takes place all in one location and is 20 minutes long, 17 minutes long, that it yields, if it's 2 people in a scene, it's easy to look at that and say, well, this is theater, because they're in one location and they're talking to each other, and the action is only what's going to happen in this room. Whereas what we were attracted to in the story that we came to find with the series was our ability to leave the hotel room, to see the cinematic grift that drew us to the genre in the first place.
This does kind of play more like a thriller. It's a little bit more exciting. It definitely reminded me of kind of that gritty late 70s, early 80s crime films, like kind of some of those Scorsese films where it's really, dirty New York City. But actually going off of that, I would say that both the film and the series very plays carefully and sensitively with the topic of sex work and why and how some people stumble into that field. What were kind of the things that you read about or talked to people about to kind of make sure that that experience wasn't just, you know, something flashy and an interesting job, but these characters lived in experiences?
The short, I definitely felt way more weight and way more responsibility. We read as much as we could. We wanted to make sure, like, psychologically, we were dealing with trauma correctly, dealing with abuse correctly, and how different people deal with it. By the time we did the series, yes, we still watched the documentaries we needed to watch. We still, read what we needed to read, but that wasn't the point anymore. The characters were the point, and really everything that they've been through, they've done a pretty good job at hiding it or internalizing it, and they're able to that mask is way more effective in the series than it is in the short film. So in that way, the series we're able to deal with, sure, they're putting on a little bit of an act, but now we can play with just the characters.
Yeah, and I get in juxtaposition to the short itself, the series is not about the unveiling of traumas, but rather the entire time what Adam's doing is denying that they exist.
That little pig. Seriously. Yeah. it's his kink. You call him a fat little pig, you slap him in the face, and then he comes like that.
I think we have a different clientele. Mine seem to be more into humiliating me lately.
You gotta manipulate the situation. Look, if you don't know who I am, I'm yours. I'm all yours. If that's what you want to believe. You think Abbott would be paying me $500 if he knew that I was seeing other Johns? Fuck no. No, he wouldn't, because he's paying for a fantasy. He really wants to believe that someone who looks like me would ever want to fuck someone like him.
Basically, you don't have sex with any guys.
I don't have to.
But if someone told you they'd give you 10 grand to fuck you, you'd do it.
You put 10 grand on that table, then we'll talk. But until then, fat little pig is paying my rent.
It was important to us that he didn't see himself as a victim. It was important to us that he felt confident in what he was doing and that he knew he was making the choices he wanted to make. Whether or not he was going through rough patches, he's adamant that it is his life and his choice to deal with. And as far as research goes, it was important to us to see lots of interviews with actual sex workers and sort of represent their confidence in what they're doing.
Throughout the series, we get these home videos essentially of Adam and Lucy, and they're kind of interviewing each other. They're clearly in a different headspace and situation than they are in the reality of the series. Were kind of these documentaries and interviews that you're watching, did that kind of inform that framing device throughout the show?
We were a little bit nervous that Adam was going to be he was at arm's length, and we weren't really able to grasp his intentions. And really, if you look at the series, Adam is kind of going with the flow. It's Adam in Wonderland. Every episode, the second episode is all about Lucy, and the third episode about Ryan Ruffing's character, and then the fourth is the handlers, and he's really just navigating through this world. We don't really know that much about him other than the beginning and the end. So in between, we were trying to figure out a way to figure out more about him, figure out some backstory, and really within this origin story, going even further and having these two friends found a camcorder one day and they started recording each other. We liked that only those two characters were comfortable enough with each other to be able to reveal themselves in that way.
it gave us a chance to jump to a point in time where they were in the right headspace and not have to create a time in our story where they might be in that space, because we don't really have time to put that in the events of the day that Adam's going through in the present. After my first touches on the script, I was very focused on Adam protecting his anonymity, and Omar was wise to point out that we still have to get to know Adam, to care about him. And this device, as you put it, allowed us to travel to a time where he was willing to let someone in for a minute.
Where was Dekkoo kind of in this process? Like, did you kind of pitch the series to them, or kind of like Here Comes Your Man, you pretty much had it all together and you were looking for a partner to kind of expand the reach?
Well, Here Comes Your Man 1 came out, and I think it got the success that they were looking for, what Dekkoo was looking for, and they also released a short film version of Adam and Fragments, which was great because we really loved the short film. We wrapped it January of 2020, and I was editing it all the way up until March of 2020. So every intention that we had of let's send it to festivals, let's send it wherever, just shut down. So we weren't really sure what to do with this short, and we were holding on to it. And by the time that Here Comes Your Man 1 came out, Dekkoo bought the short film version. So that was out. I think that got some attention as well. So by the time that I was asked, is there any possibility of a Here Comes Your Man 2? I thought, well, I'm kind of sort of thinking about a series version of Adam. So those ended up working, being approved at the same time. And it was a really fun way of doing it because they're obviously wildly different projects. Even by the time we were casting, I love the cast of Here Comes Your Man so much, but I was really adamant on we can't repeat anybody. All of these actors have to be brand new. We have to really take this from the beginning because it's such a different vibe. And we all had fun on Here Comes Your Man. Everyone's like, goofing off on set. So by the time we're doing Adam, it's like we need to make sure we can't beat it out of old actors. Like we have to make sure that like these are new people that don't know us that are going to give it, the sensitivity and the weight that it needs.
What project is next for you on the horizon?
I would love to do one more series that I'm trying to put together right now. But I never knew that I was going to do this many series. I don't really watch a huge amount of TV. So if you watch Here Comes Your Man 1, it really just plays like scenes of a marriage. It's really just these chapters in what is just one long story. So that never felt inherently like TV to me. Here Comes Your Man 2 is way more sitcom-y, and it has way more of an episodic feel. So, and the same thing with Adam. You can play it as a movie the whole way through, and it wouldn't feel incorrect. But now that I kind of have the hang of it, I feel like I would like to do one more series. But there's 2 feature films in post-production right now. I'm hoping that we get one of them out by the beginning of next year, and hopefully the other one out by mid next year. But they're both shot, they're both being edited, and I'm very excited for that.
And Calvin, what about you? Do you now have this directing and writing urge that might even supersede acting?
I find that I'm comfortable on set behind the camera in a way that I'm not in front of the camera, at least not yet. And that might just be critical. That might be me being critical of myself because I spent so much of my life doing theater. I know what it feels like to feel in my element as an actor, and it's just a very different environment on set, on a film set. But I do feel like I have more aspirations to write and direct. I'm working on a play that's is going to be used at the theater company that I work with. Omar and I have another script that we've written, and we keep refining. So that's been a lot of fun. But as far as what's next for me in terms of like production, I'm open.
Fantastic. And hopefully we'll be back here on Zoom in a few months talking about whatever next project that you both have. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for spending this time with me. Omar, Salas, Zamora, and Calvin Picou of Adam and Fragments. You can watch the full series on Dekkoo, as well as the original short film. Do what I do if you'd like. And I actually watched the entire series, kind of like a movie, as Omar was saying. And then seeing the short film afterwards, it really did feel like this full circle experience. So, congratulations to you both on this. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, Ross. Thanks a lot.